I invited my whole family to celebrate our engagement until my sister kissed my fiancé and smirked, "I always get there first." I smiled back and told her, "You can have my leftovers." I didn't know my sister once dated my fiancé until she tried to ruin my entire engagement dinner. I wish I was being dramatic. I wish this was some kind of exaggerated Reddit story I read online, not my actual life. But I lived through it, and I still can't believe how twisted it became. My name's Callie. I'm 29, and after spending most of my 20s in Chicago working 12-hour shifts and living off instant ramen, I decided to move back to my hometown in Oregon. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to be closer to my sisters, especially Mira, my 26-year-old younger sister who had just returned from a year working overseas. We weren't exactly close growing up, but I figured now that we were older, we could start over. And for a while, everything felt like it was finally falling into place. I landed a steady job at a nonprofit health center and signed a lease for a cozy little apartment downtown. That same week, I met Elias. Elias was working as a physical therapist in the same building. He had this calm energy that pulled people in. Smart, warm, and thoughtful in the kind of way that didn't feel forced. We met in the break room during lunch. I'd spilled soup on my blouse, and he offered me a napkin and a stupid joke. We ended up talking for an hour. It was the first time in a long time I'd felt seen. Not flirted with, not entertained, but truly seen. We went out the following weekend, and I think I knew even then. Something about this man was different. By the third date, I was already picturing what a life with him might look like. Fast forward 6 months, and Elias and I had just made it official. He met a few of my close friends, but I hadn't introduced him to my family yet. Part of me was nervous. My relationship with my parents was always a little strained, and I didn't want that baggage to bleed into something good. But it was my dad's birthday in early spring, and I figured it was as good a time as any. I invited Elias to join us for dinner at my parents' house. He was excited. I was excited. Mira was flying in from Seattle that morning and promised to be there too. I remember thinking how perfect it all felt. We arrived a little late because Elias had stopped to pick up my dad's favorite wine. When we walked in, everyone was already seated. There was laughter, food, and for the first time in years, I actually felt welcome. That feeling lasted about 4 minutes. Elias was shaking hands, being his usual charming self, when Mira came out from the kitchen holding a tray of appetizers. The moment she saw him, she froze. I noticed, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was just surprised to see a stranger in the house. But then her face went pale. Her hands started shaking, and she set the tray down way too fast, like she couldn't get rid of it quickly enough. I tried to catch her eye. "Mira, this is Elias, my boyfriend." She stared at him for a long second, then forced a tight smile. "Yeah, I know." I laughed awkwardly. "Wait, what?" She didn't answer. She just turned and walked straight back into the kitchen. Elias looked at me confused. "Do you think she's okay?" I wanted to say yes. I needed to believe she was just being weird. But something in my stomach twisted. Dinner was quiet, tense. Mira barely spoke. My parents didn't seem to notice, but I felt like I was holding my breath the entire time. After dessert, Mira asked if she could talk to me outside. I followed her onto the porch. "Do you know who you're dating?" she asked, arms crossed. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? She took a deep breath and said words I'll never forget. "Callie, I dated Elias 2 years ago. For 6 months. He broke up with me out of nowhere." The world tilted sideways. I actually laughed at first, thinking it was a sick joke. "What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. He never mentioned you." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Her and Elias at a lake, kissing. Same crooked smile, same freckles on his shoulders, same Elias. I couldn't breathe. I walked back inside, numb. Elias stood up immediately. "Everything okay?" "Did you date Mira?" I asked, voice shaking. His face dropped. Then he nodded. "Yes, but I didn't know she was your sister when we met, Callie." I swear I believed him. God help me, I believed him. Because the timeline added up. When Mira was dating this mystery guy years ago, she never brought him around. She kept everything private. I was living across the country then. We barely talked. And he never once mentioned her name. Just that he'd had one serious relationship in the past, and it ended because they wanted different things. I wanted to scream, to cry, to rewind time and erase that dinner from existence. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down and tried to hold myself together while my world quietly fractured in front of everyone. Elias pulled me aside after the guests left. "I'm so sorry, Callie. I never meant for this to happen. If I'd known, I never would have started anything. But I love you. and I want to be with you." And I didn't know what to say. I told him I needed time to think. I hugged him at the door and watched him drive away. I was still on the porch when Mira came back out. Her eyes were red. "I didn't want to ruin your night," she said, "but you deserve to know. He broke me, Callie, and now you're letting him into this family?" I was too tired to fight, so I said nothing. She walked inside, and I stayed outside staring at the driveway. The next morning, Elias texted me, "Callie, there's something else I need to tell you. It's about why I really broke up with Mira." I stared at my phone, and my stomach dropped all over again. I stared at Elias's message for a long time. "There's something else I need to tell you. It's about why I really broke up with Mira." My hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to throw my phone across the room. The other part opened the message. He said we should talk in person, that it wasn't something he could explain over text. I agreed, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. He came over that afternoon. I could tell he hadn't slept. His eyes were puffy, and he looked like he'd been pacing for hours. "I didn't lie to you," he started, "but I didn't tell you everything." I sat on the edge of the couch, arms crossed tightly. "Then tell me now." Elias took a deep breath. "Mira and I dated for about 6 months. It was intense, at first. She was fun, charming, but she had this way of turning everything into a fight. She'd go through my phone, accuse me of cheating, say I was too quiet and must be hiding something. It got toxic fast. I didn't say anything. I just let him keep going. One night, she showed up at my apartment screaming. She thought I was with another girl because I hadn't answered her texts for 2 hours. I wasn't even home. I was visiting my dad in the hospital. That night, she keyed my car. Left a note saying I'd regret ever hurting her. My stomach twisted. She apologized later, said it was a breakdown. I stayed for another month because I felt bad for her. I thought maybe she needed help, not a breakup. But she got worse. Eventually, I ended it. He looked at me carefully. "I didn't cheat on her, Callie. I didn't ghost her. But I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd think I was making excuses." I didn't know what to believe. Part of me wanted to run and call Mira, demand her side of the story. Another part remembered all the times growing up when Mira exploded over the smallest things. When she smashed my phone because I borrowed her sweater without asking. When she told everyone at school I wet the bed in 3rd grade, just because I got invited to a party she wasn't. Still, I felt sick. Because this wasn't just about my sister anymore. This was about me, my relationship, my future. "I just need time," I whispered. Elias nodded. "Take whatever you need. I'm not going anywhere." We didn't talk much the next few days. I didn't see Mira either. My parents acted like nothing happened. My mom even texted me a few selfies from the dinner, like there wasn't a giant emotional crater left in the middle of it. 2 weeks later, I decided I wasn't going to let this ruin what Elias and I had built. We talked. A lot. I asked every question I could think of. He never flinched, never hesitated. And slowly, I started to believe him. Because I remembered what it felt like to be with him. And I didn't want to throw that away. So I did something that probably sounds insane to most people. I proposed. It was his birthday. A small dinner with a few friends and both our families. I waited until dessert, then stood up and gave a short speech about love and forgiveness and choosing the life we want, even if it's messy. Then I got down on one knee. Elias looked like he was about to cry. He said yes. I slipped a ring on his finger. Everyone clapped. Well, almost everyone. Because just as the applause died down, Mira stood up from the corner of the table and threw her glass across the room. It shattered against the wall behind us, and silence fell like a bomb. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she screamed. No one moved. "You're seriously going to marry him? After everything?" My dad stood up to calm her, but she pushed past him. "You think he's changed? You think he won't do to you what he did to me?" I opened my mouth, but she didn't give me a chance. "He used you, Callie, just like he used me. You're too desperate to see it." Elias stepped forward. "Mira, this isn't the time." She spun on him. "Oh, now you find your voice? Where was that when you were begging me not to tell her about us?" That made everyone pause. My heart dropped. "What?" She looked straight at me. "He came to see me, a month ago. He said he still thought about me, that you were a rebound, that he wasn't sure he could marry someone so plain." My knees buckled. Elias stepped forward, panic in his voice. "That's not true. I didn't say that. I went to her to ask her to let go of the past. That's all." She twisted it. Mira pulled out her phone. Then why did you text me this? She scrolled quickly and turned the screen toward me. A message from Elias, dated 3 weeks ago. I still care about you, just not in the same way. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I couldn't breathe. See? She said. He was trying to keep us both. And you fell for it. Elias looked like he'd been hit by a truck. I was trying to de-escalate, he said. She was spiraling, Callie. I didn't want to push her. I wasn't leading her on. I told her it was over. I backed away from both of them. My mother started to say something, but I couldn't hear anymore. The walls were closing in. I grabbed my coat, keys, and walked straight out the door. Elias chased after me, but I locked the car door before he could reach it. I drove aimlessly for an hour before parking in front of an empty grocery store lot. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Everything felt like a lie. Everyone felt like a lie. And just when I thought the night couldn't get worse, my phone buzzed again. It was an email from an anonymous sender. Subject: You deserve to know what kind of man Elias really is. Attachment: 4 screenshots, all recent, all from Mira's phone, all showing Elias saying things I never thought he was capable of. I didn't even want to open the email. But I did. The subject line was vague. You deserve to know the truth. And the sender was anonymous. But when I tapped on the attachments and saw the screenshots, my stomach turned so violently I had to brace myself against the steering wheel. They were from Elias. Recent ones. From the same number that had been texting me just the day before. In one, he said, You'll always have a piece of me. But I can't keep doing this. She's not you. Another, We both know I'm settling. I just don't want to be alone anymore. The last one was dated 2 nights before our engagement dinner. It said, If you ever wanted to try again, I'd leave everything behind. I stared at the screen, frozen. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about me proposing too fast. This wasn't about an unresolved ex or an awkward coincidence. This was betrayal. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even cry. I just sat on my bathroom floor, phone in hand, staring at everything I had missed. Every smile, every excuse, every little moment that suddenly felt like it meant something else. By morning, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I knew one thing. I couldn't keep pretending nothing happened. That afternoon, I drove back to my apartment and packed a bag. Elias texted me 5 times asking where I was. I didn't respond. I needed time, space, and someone who wouldn't lie to my face. I went to stay with my older cousin Tessa. She didn't ask questions. She just made me tea, handed me a blanket, and let me exist. But silence only lasts so long. 3 days later, I got a group text from Mira. Family dinner at my place this Sunday. No drama, just food. I think we all need this. I nearly threw my phone out the window, but curiosity is a strange thing. So is anger. I told Tessa I was going. Not for reconciliation, not for peace. I wanted answers. I wanted to look Elias and Mira in the eye and see if they still had the nerve to lie to my face. Sunday came too fast. Her apartment was too clean, too staged, like she'd lit every candle she owned to disguise the tension hanging in the air. My parents were already there. My dad greeted me with a hug. My mom gave me a polite nod, like we hadn't just watched my engagement implode in real time. And then I saw him. Elias stood in the corner, hands in his pockets, looking like a man who had no idea which direction the explosion was coming from, but knew it was close. I didn't speak to him, not yet. We sat down for dinner. Mira made something fancy, rosemary chicken, roasted potatoes, salad with those overpriced olives she always bragged about. Everyone made forced small talk, pretending this wasn't the emotional hostage situation it clearly was. Then, about 30 minutes in, Mira stood up and tapped her glass. I have something to say. No one moved. She looked around the room, eyes glistening. I know things have been tense lately, but I invited you all here tonight because I wanted to apologize. To Callie, to Elias, to our family. My mom smiled at her like she was the Virgin Mary. I clenched my jaw. I know I acted out. I was hurt. I said things I regret. She turned to me. Callie, I'm sorry. Truly, I never should have come between you and Elias. You're my sister. I love you. And just when I thought she might actually be sincere, she pulled out a letter, a handwritten letter. She opened it dramatically, cleared her throat, and started reading like she was auditioning for some off-Broadway tragedy. But what came out of her mouth wasn't an apology. It was a confession. I've been in love with Elias since the day we met. I knew he wasn't over me. I knew Callie was just a placeholder. And even though it hurts, I have to be honest. If he ever asked me to take him back, I would. I blinked. No one said anything. She folded the letter and sat down calmly, as if she'd just read a poem. The room was dead silent. Then Elias stood up, and what he said next changed everything. "Callie," he said, voice shaking. I didn't know she was going to do that. I turned toward him. "So you're saying it's not true?" He hesitated. I don't know how to explain this," he said. "I've had a complicated history with Mira, you know that, but I didn't plan this. I didn't know she'd—" "Did you send her these?" I asked, pulling out my phone. I tapped on the screenshots, held them out. His face fell. My mom leaned forward. "Callie, this is family. Can we not do this here?" "No," I snapped. "We're doing this exactly here." Elias stared at the screen, then looked up at me. "I sent them," he said. "But it's not what you think." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh? So when you said you'd leave everything behind for her, what did you really mean? That you were going to take her to the grocery store?" Elias looked lost. I didn't know how to stop her from spiraling. I didn't mean any of it. Mira stood up. "That's a lie. You came to my place last week. You kissed me." My heart dropped. I looked at him. He shook his head violently. No, I didn't. I didn't kiss her." But Mira had already pulled out her phone, opened the gallery, tapped on a photo. There it was. Clear as day. Elias kissing her, in her apartment. And in the background? My birthday cake. They had kissed the night before my engagement dinner. I stood up slowly. I couldn't feel my legs, or my hands. I don't even remember walking out the door. All I know is, as I walked down the hallway, someone called after me. It was Mira, and all she said was, "You always get what I had first, don't you?" I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream, break things, or text anyone for comfort. I just drove, past our old hangout spots, past the apartment I once dreamed of sharing with Elias, past every memory that now felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was humiliation, betrayal, and something colder than rage. Clarity. They didn't just lie to me. They planned it. Together. And somehow they still wanted me to play the fool. The next morning, I sent a group message. To Elias, to Mira, to both of our parents. "We need to talk. My place. 6 p.m. Don't be late." Mira responded first with a simple ugh face. Elias texted, "Callie, please." "I'm sorry, I'll be there." My mom called, twice, but I let it ring out. I wasn't doing this for closure anymore. I was doing this to make sure they knew what they lost. When 6 p.m. rolled around, I was ready. Hair pulled back, neutral clothes, calm face. I wasn't going to scream or cry in front of them. I was going to take my power back, quietly, directly, and without mercy. Elias arrived first. He looked like he hadn't slept since the dinner. His shirt was wrinkled, and he had that apologetic puppy look he always used when he wanted to manipulate a situation without looking like he was. Mira arrived 15 minutes late, of course, wearing red lipstick and acting like she was strutting into a courtroom she already owned. She didn't say hi. She just tossed her coat on the couch and smirked. "Let's get this over with." I didn't respond. I sat across from both of them at the dining table and opened a folder. Inside were printouts of the texts, the screenshots, the anonymous email. And, because Mira had been stupid enough to keep them on iCloud, the photo of them kissing, timestamped exactly 14 hours before I proposed to Elias. I slid them across the table. Elias flinched. Mira didn't even blink. "Did you bring us here to recap?" she said, examining her nails. "No," I said evenly. "I brought you here because I want to hear it. Out loud. From both of you." Mira leaned back. "Hear what? That he still wants me? That he only said yes because he was scared to be alone?" I turned to Elias. "Is that true?" He shook his head slowly. That's not. "Callie, that's not true." "Then tell me what is." He swallowed hard. I panicked. I thought maybe I had unresolved feelings for Mira, and I didn't want to start something with you if I wasn't sure. "You mean," I interrupted, "you didn't want to be honest in case it cost you both of us?" He didn't answer, and that's when Mira dropped her bomb. "You know he asked me to sleep with him, right?" I stared at her. She smiled like it was her birthday. "Right after your proposal. Said he needed to clear his head." Elias's head whipped around. "That's a lie," Mira laughed. "Oh, now you want to tell the truth?" He stood up. I didn't ask you to sleep with me. I told you we had to stop texting. I told you I was committed to Callie. Mira rolled her eyes. You kissed me. You told me you missed me. That was enough. And then, finally, I lost it. You're both disgusting, I said, standing up. You manipulated me, lied to me, humiliated me, for what? A pathetic power trip? Mira shrugged. No one made you propose. That was on you. I turned to Elias. And you. You let me fall in love with a version of you that doesn't exist. You stood there letting me plan a life with you while you were still entertaining my sister behind my back. Elias started crying, real tears, hands trembling. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I laughed bitterly. That's the problem, Elias. You never mean to hurt people. You just do it anyway. There was a long silence, and then I told them both. I'm done. With you. With this. With all of it. I grabbed the folder and tossed it into the fireplace. Mira stood up. You'll come crawling back. You always do. You're not strong enough to be alone. But before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. 3 knocks. Sharp. Purposeful. I opened it. And standing there was Tessa, my cousin, holding her phone. She looked at me, then at Mira. You might want to sit down, she said, because I just found something. I let her in, confused. She walked straight to the table, opened her gallery, and tapped a video. You recognize this place? She asked me. I nodded. Yeah, that's Mira's apartment. The video started playing. It showed Mira and Elias in her kitchen. She was pouring wine. He looked uncomfortable. Then the kiss happened. But then, Mira walked to her phone, set it up on the counter, and posed for the picture. The same one she showed at dinner. The one meant to expose Elias. Only now, in video, it was clear. She kissed him, pulled him forward, and snapped the photo herself. And Elias? He pushed her away right after. Mira's face turned white. I don't know where you got that. Tessa raised an eyebrow. You uploaded it to your shared drive. You must have forgotten your iCloud password's the same since middle school. Elias stared at the screen like he was seeing his own funeral. I sat down, heart racing, because in 1 second everything flipped. And now all I could think was, if she staged that, what else was a lie? I watched the video twice. The first time I could barely believe what I was seeing. The second time I felt something shift in me. Not anger, not pain, freedom. All this time I'd been gaslit by 2 people who swore they didn't mean to hurt me. But that video? It was intentional. Staged. Weaponized. Tessa handed me her phone and nodded. You don't owe her anything anymore. Mira was silent. For the first time, truly silent. No smirks, no snide comments, no fake apologies. Elias looked like the floor had fallen out from under him. He couldn't stop staring at the screen. You knew, I said softly. Didn't you? He opened his mouth. Closed it. I had a feeling, he finally muttered. But I didn't want to make her worse. I thought if I played along, she'd stop. I shook my head. You didn't want to lose her. Or me. So you tried to keep us both until one of us cracked. No, he said. Callie, it wasn't like that. But it was. And the worst part? I wasn't surprised anymore. I turned to Mira. You planned all of this. You lied to our family. You lied to me. You let me stand there in front of everyone, thinking I'd ruined your life, when you were the one sabotaging mine. Still, she said nothing. So I kept going. You could have just told the truth, but you wanted to win. You wanted to see me fall. And now? You don't even look sorry. Just caught. And then, finally, Mira cracked. You never had to live in my shadow, she snapped. I was always second best. You were the one who left and got a new life. You got Dad's approval. You got to be the strong one. I was left behind. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I didn't move. You think I wanted Elias back? I just wanted to prove that I could take something from you too. I stared at her. For a moment, I didn't feel hate. I felt pity. She spent so much time competing in a race I didn't even know we were running. But I wasn't going to give her what she wanted. I wasn't going to break down. I wasn't going to stay. I took a breath. Well, congratulations, Mira. You finally took something. Then I stood up and looked at Elias. I'll be sending your things to your office. I already canceled the venue, told my lawyer to void the marriage license application, and let my landlord know you'll be moving out by the end of the week. He looked stunned. Wait, Callie, please. No, I said. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. I turned to the door. Mira followed, starting to say something, but I stopped her with a single glance. Oh, and by the way, I said quietly, HR at your job might want to take a look at that video, since it's timestamped during work hours on your work device. Her face drained of color. You wouldn't... I already did. I closed the door behind me. It took 2 days before the fallout began. Mira was placed on unpaid leave pending an internal investigation for inappropriate use of professional equipment. Her reputation at work? Ruined. Apparently, trying to manipulate a fake harassment narrative and then getting caught in your own staged video doesn't play well in corporate healthcare. Elias? He tried to message me a few times, but I blocked him. Last I heard, he moved cities after his practice partner cut ties with him over the drama. He'll survive. But he won't be someone's first choice for a long time. As for me, I got my piece. It wasn't loud. It didn't come with applause. But it felt like coming up for air after months of drowning in other people's chaos. I didn't need revenge. I just needed clarity. And now that I had it, I could finally move on. And this time, for real. No guilt. No shame. Just me. And if Mira ever tries to show up again, I'll let the footage speak for itself. Because in the end, people like her always write their own downfall. You just have to stop editing the ending for them. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to be shouted. It just needs to be shown. And justice doesn't always come through revenge, but through walking away with your head held high. If you've ever gone through something similar or been betrayed by someone you trusted, I'd genuinely love to hear your story in the comments. Share your experience. And if this journey resonated with you, don't forget to follow the channel for more real-life stories like this one.